It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
This is Omobola Stephen, the also Larry for Omobola Stephen, a self-improvement and personal development podcast. We share disruptive yet constructive mentorship conversations and insight, focusing on personal development and self-improvement. We've come to realize the importance of embracing personal development along the course of our life, because when we embrace it, we get to find ourselves along the path, and we can just really be amazed at the potentials and the possibilities and that life has in popping for us if we can dare to embrace the changes and the transformation that personal development brings. Today, I have Carlos Davidovich, who is the medical doctor and international executive coach and author, on the show with me today. We will be talking about how we can use neuroscience to build better teams. So what a great topic of discussion on today's show. Welcome, Carlos Davidovich, to Library.
Thanks a lot for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here. I'm honored to be here. A pleasure.
Honored to have you, Carlos. Thank you once again, and my audience are looking forward to a really transformative insight, especially how we can use neuroscience to build better teams, and also looking at leadership along the course of the discussion. You draw upon your medical background and understanding of the brain to provide a unique coaching experience to top business leaders. Now, my audience really would love to know why this is a passion for you.
Well, I mean, if I need to be 100% honest, life started putting things in my way. I made the decision to follow that, but it was a combination of circumstances, to be honest. So I work as a medical doctor in Argentina, where I'm from. I worked as executive in business as well. I mean, did all the business side in my life. And in one moment, I had to move. I decided to move to Europe, and I found out I had to reinvent it myself. So, long story short, I ended working as executive coach. And in one moment, I heard somebody was in the United States doing something about connecting the brain with organizations. In that moment, I felt that I was able to do something similar, to follow that path. And long story short, many years later, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I give a lot of talks and lectures on something called neuromanagement. So to apply, let's say, the basic and I would say no, the practical tips on how the brain works in organizations, in human behavior. And at the same time, I work as executive coach. So what I'm trying to say is I found out that everybody today is quite trendy to talk about neuroscience. You know that. But I started like 15 years ago, but and I found out that people are very interested to know about themselves. And more you can understand, let's say, what is behind our behavior, better you can deal with those things in yourself and, for instance, in your team. And this is very important. And through all my years of working with teams and working with leaders, this was translated, let's say, to a very practical and concrete experiences where people were understanding more themselves or how people talk to each other. That was better to deal with their team, to connect with each other, and in the end, to become more productive.
And now, Carlos, you work with teams and also with leaders. But really, today, many leaders believe that there is a high pressure, high conflict, and also high stress, which seems just natural and inevitable. I believe that you can also attest to this. Now, what can really help to respond to this situation, or how can we respond to this situation through the lens of neuroscience?
If you talk about stress in the way that we understand stress, it's very important. So let's put it that way. The first word that comes to my mind is acceptance. So let's stop fighting with things that we cannot change. We cannot change what happened outside. We cannot change all the circumstances that are present and putting so much pressure on us. But we can decide in the way to respond or in the way to be prepared to face the things. more you know about yourself, better you will be able to deal with all these situations. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to escape to this world of stress and pressure, okay, then there are choices. I mean, you can leave the society as we know it in Western world. But if you need to live in that environment, it's time to take action. And taking action is not about the outside, it's about the inside. It's about how you develop yourself. At the same time, it's how much you know your team, how better you understand them as a human being to be able to lead them to the good results. Makes sense. That's why what we're saying is we cannot change the world that we live in. So, and today, we talk about the VUCA world, right? As an acronym. So it's a world, volatile world, uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. So that we don't have any influence to change that, but we have a full power and influence to work in ourselves and to work in our team. As a leaders, this is about how I can prepare or help my team to be prepared in the best way to deal with this external world, external, let's say, market that's so much under pressure. And what sometimes people don't understand, that better you know yourself and better you know the tools that you have to fight this, you will do it better. So we need to be mindful of who we really are. Neuroscience brings all this understanding about yourself and also gives concrete tips on how to deal with high stress, how to deal with this external pressure, and in the end, to make the right decisions in yourself and in your team when you're working with them. Make sense?
So does it really mean that neuroscience is the answer to all of these situations?
I don't know. I don't want to be so extremist. So what I want to say is one way to learn how to deal with this external situation better. That's for sure. Is the only way. I don't want to say that. I don't want to be so extreme on this. But in the way I understand, in the way I transmit to people regarding leadership and regarding leading teams or leading yourself, I found out that it's quite effective. That's for sure.
Okay, let's talking about leaders. I want us to talk a bit about leadership because you authored the book, The Five Brain Leadership. So I want
Yeah.
us to explore just a bit on that book, but I would like you to tag it down to how our beliefs affect the brain.
Beliefs are so important in our life that without belief, we cannot be alive. That is extreme. As human beings, we need to define and decide our belief because based on those beliefs is the way we understand the world and we can deal with the world. It doesn't mean we cannot change our belief. It doesn't mean that not necessary all the belief we have are healthy. Sometimes a negative belief, and then will limit us to reach our goals. So I talked about, I will say metaphorically, about different brains. In other words, I talk about different narratives inside of ourselves. So there is a part of us that's quite instinctual. That responds a lot to instinct. And instinct means fight, freeze, or flight. It's very basic. It's survival. And that will take over whenever I feel fear. And not necessarily will take me to a good place. There are other narratives inside, I define as a different brains, more emotional, let's say in a positive way or negative way. Emotions are everywhere. More rational, those one that will let us to understand rationally what's going on. But rationality is not the part of our brain that will give us the chance to action, to make decisions. That part relies in our emotions. Then it's very important to understand that, even though They are more narrative because we have more brains. We have neurons in our hearts connected with emotion. We have neurons in our gut system connected with the intuition or the gut feeling. There's a lot of information that comes inside of us. I like to define them as the different voices that we have inside. And those voices, they have a lot of power. So we, as a human being, we need to identify who is talking because depends who is in charge will be the results. If I let my instinct to take over, oh my God, that's not going to be a good end because it's about a win-lose game. It's no win-win, for instance. And the same situation that happens inside of me, I can see it in my team. That's why I like to talk about we need to learn how to lead our internal team, and then we will be able to lead our external team, people that are around us. So, as a leader, it's not that we need to become psychologists because it's impossible, it's nonsense, but you need to listen differently to people. And listen differently means I need to identify what are the strengths of my people, one by one, areas that they can be developed better, because that's the way to pull from the best part of them. That requires a work to do, but a work that will bring a lot of benefits. And to be honest, people don't like to do that work. People just focus on action, focus on results, focus on the task, focus on different topics, and they don't understand that there is a human being behind all these actions. And depends how that human being is feeling or is prepared, emotionally talking prepared, will be able to deal better with that. If my team doesn't feel supported by me as a leader, it's very hard that my people will really understand what to do and to do it in the right way. I remember, today I was talking with one person from a team of a leader that I'm coaching, and it's so clear there was a misunderstanding, and each of them understood X situation completely different way. So there's no communication. And it's so interesting when you listen to the leader say, because this guy did and did, da, 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 da. And then you listen to the person, the two of them are talking about the same thing and watching a completely different movie. And that can be solved if they understand what listening exactly means and being respectful of the differences. Because we are not the same. We don't react in the same way. And that is the richness of being human. So when I have a diverse team in the way they think, in the way they behave, that is what makes the team more effective. Makes
And
sense?
Carlos, I'd like to take you back a bit to just what you said about leading internally. By this, what do you mean?
What I mean is, I need to be mindful of the different voices that I have inside of me. And when I say different voices, it's partially a metaphor. All of us, we have one part of us inside that tries to win all the time, or they try to, or is very fearful, let's say, a lot of fears. There's one part of me. Another part of me is trying to be positive or trying to bring positive emotions. Another part of me trying to explain everything. Another part of me is giving me information, and I don't know where that information comes from. And that's what we call intuition. So if I can understand this internal dynamic of different characters inside, I can learn how to deal with them. There is one thing called metacognition that in an easy way to define is observing myself from outside. We need to be in control. We want to be in control. We need to be in control. Then my real self, this kind of the being that is watching what happened inside, needs to be in control. And for that, it needs to be mindful to identify those voices and to decide what is the best to do in this moment. So what I'm trying to say is listen to yourself, identify these voices, find out what you really want to know, and then make the right move. And or you will find out that externally in your team, something very similar happens with your people. People with different personality, with different interests, with different fears. And as a leader, you need to learn how to manage those things. Those are the things that your team that can hold your team back. So be aware what happened to them in the human side. Be aware what happened to you inside your emotions. Not in such a profound way. Where I give a formula, a very simple thing, very practical things. And then you will be able to do your work or your task and also to take care of this stress in a healthier way.
Thank you, Carlos Davidovich, for that insight you just shared. Now, but you emphasize teamwork, and I think it's also very important for our discussion, talking about neuroscience, how we can use neuroscience to build better teams. But how does teamwork affect the brain? Or let me put it this way, what are the mental benefits of being on the team?
As a human being, our brain is a social organ. What that means? We cannot be isolated for many, many reasons, not only for emotional reasons. At the moment that we are not able to see the whole picture by ourselves, we need different people with diversity of thoughts mainly that will be able to bring us different perspectives. In that sense, is that the team is essential to move forward. Remember that saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go farther, go with the team. So we cannot reach or to go too far at the moment that we are alone because we cannot see the whole picture. Make sense? I don't know if I respond in your question.
All right, but Billy, I'd just like you to put it in proper perspective about how teamwork affects the brain.
Number one will give more perspective. Diverse in perspective means will open different channels inside of me. If I learn how to listen and I listen properly, the team is the one that will fit my brain to make it better and to work better. We cannot do it by ourselves, even though many people they believe they can do it by themselves. That's not true. The team is the way to stimulate not only the, let's say, the spirit of being together, not only to fulfill this basic need of being in a tribe, of being social, but also because none of us are able to see what's going on in the full picture because our brain cannot see it. We need others for that. And we need not only, let's say, to have extensions of our arms, we have extensions of our brain, people that can think by themselves to bring new perspective, new values, new possibilities.
Carlos, now I'm thinking out loud. If we don't really follow our instincts, what will happen?
That is a semantic issue. When we say I'm following my instinct, what we are saying is I'm following my intuition. It's not instinct. But it's a semantic thing. It's a matter of word. We use instinct in the wrong way because instinct is not exactly the rational part. An instinct, the truth is a survival mechanism. So when we say I follow my instinct, the truth is I'm following my intuition. That is what really happened. And intuition means all this information that comes mainly from our gut, connecting with the big brain, that comes from the sum of all the experiences that I've had in life. So not everyone is able to decode that information, but intuition is one of the strongest source of information in life in general, in leadership in particular. So follow your instinct is okay because we use it normally. But the truth is, I follow my intuition, not my instinct. That's the right word. Even though everybody used the other one.
Brilliant. And now, my audience are looking forward to any exciting news. Perhaps, do you have any projects in the pipeline you think it's going to be beneficial to them in the long run? It's just the right time or the right platform for you to share that.
What I like is always to. Okay, I will give you one tip. Okay, concrete tip. It's very common to talk about empathy, of course, and we need to be empathetic. And also very common in business to talk about analytical thinking, right? One thing that's very useful to find out or to know is that the empathetic brain and the analytical brain, they come from a completely different places in the brain, and they compete with each other. We cannot be the two of them activated at the same time. We cannot be empathetic and at the same time be able to analyze properly. We can't, because they compete in the brain for control. When we are too empathetic, we cannot analyze properly, rationally. When we are too analytical, we cannot be empathetic. It's one or the other. They use different neural pathways. Why this is important? Because the good good leaders are those that are able to balance one and the other, to understand when to be empathetic with the team, to understand what would happen to them, and at the same time to stop and start thinking with a rational brain to bring the proper solution. This game between empathy and analytical thinking is something that people don't know, and they need to know how that works in the brain. This is a practical tips that when I share with people say, wow, I never thought about it, but you're right. When I'm too empathetic, then I'm feeling about others are feeling, and then I'm not able to think. And then I need to stop, and then I need to move to my rational thinking. That is a balance that we need to learn to do as a leader.
All right. And social media and those, thanks for sharing that with my audience. They'd like to learn more about what you do, what you've been up to lately. Can you share your website and your social media handles?
Okay, so anyone that wants to know about me, I mean, my website is my name and last name, carlosdavidovich.com, and I'm totally open to discuss with everyone, with anyone that would like to keep discussing these topics. My LinkedIn profile, of course, easy. I have a TED talk that if you want to watch something funny, and because the TED talk is about these toxic leaders, let's say, people that are tough, but they are still around us. And my book, of course, Five Brain Leaderships, that you can is available in any store. I mean, Amazon and everything, every place, any place that you want to buy a book, in any of those places.
It's a pleasure once again having Carlos Davidovich, I beg your pardon, medical doctor, you're an international executive coach and author. Also, you also double as the TEDx speaker. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on today's show, especially as we explore using neuroscience to build better teams and also leadership. Thank you once again. My audience had a great time listening to your expertise. It was really worthwhile. We wish you best of luck in all the projects that you're embarked upon, Carlos.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the invitation.
All right, tune into more transformational episodes on Live World by Omobola Stephen. My name is Omobola Stephen once again. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Carlos. That was a great show.
Okay, thanks a lot. Hola.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.